What do you make of the Prime Minister's deal, despite saying there is no magic money tree, of waving the branches of that magic money tree and showering golden coins all over Northern Ireland to the tune of £1 billion? Wow. Let's get the thoughts now of Mick Fealty from Slugger O'Toole, possibly the longest-running political website in these islands. Good morning, Mick.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. So congratulations surely are in order for Arlene Foster. She's done a great deal for the people of Northern Ireland. Is it a grubby deal, though, do you think?
Not particularly. I mean, look, the focus is health, education, infrastructure. There's some £100 million over 5 years for deprivation. There's an agreement to talk about VAT and air passenger duty tax, corporation tax. That could be interesting and very useful. And the city and enterprise zones, which are existent in England and Scotland, but not in Northern Ireland yet. So I think they've done a very disciplined, very structured deal. Very little of it. I mean, there's some bits on the edges would worry me. Anything that ends up in the social investment fund could potentially end up in the back pockets of DUP politicians and Sinn Féin politicians who've traditionally used it as a bit of a political sort of back kick slush fund to pay off their backers. But in general terms, most of that $1 billion is earmarked for properly structured social investment. And I think it is a good deal. I don't think it's grubby money. I do understand that Wales in particular will be annoyed because they traditionally do the worst of all the devolved regions in terms of subsidy from Whitehall. And Northern Ireland, of course, does the best. But I think it's a good deal for Arlene Foster. And more importantly, in Northern Ireland, where we haven't had government since last January, this is a potentially great sweetener to get Sinn Féin back into government again and get the institutions up and running. Because
we've got that problem as well this week, meant to be been resolved this week. It may not be resolved this week. But do you think this might have long-term implications for the Good Friday Peace Agreement? Because Britain can no longer really pretend to be objective if they need to come, if ever they were, in fact, because now they're backing one party in particular to the tune of £1 billion.
Well, you know, I know that's the line. The truth is, I mean, scratch any Irish Republican and ask them, is the British government or has the British government ever been impartial? And they'll tell you, absolutely no way. All kinds of side deals have been done with particular parties, not least in the early days of the peace process. Sinn Féin were the major beneficiaries around decommissioning, around the early release of prisoners, all kinds of side deals, letters of comfort and all the rest of it. This has really been not talked about, but is an established part of the peace process of managing tensions. So I don't really think that, I think it's been talked up. The truth is, yes, the DUP can say, here's a barrel of pork, there's our stamp on the side of the barrel, but actually the way the deal's been structured means that it should have wide social benefit. And yes, of course, political capital will accrue to them because Sinn Féin's self-imposed absence means that they won't be anywhere near getting the credit for this. But I just think that's politics. I mean, anywhere else in the world, you'd just say that's good politics.
Except the front page of the Daily Mirror today says, May's £1 billion bribe to crackpots. Well, can you characterise the DUP for us? Are they a bunch of crackpots?
Some of them are. I hope people don't take offence. The individuals I'm thinking about don't take offence in that. But in terms of the way mainstream England thinks, absolutely, young people who believe the Earth is no older than 6,000 years. That's not a widely held belief. But the truth is, of all the main political parties, and particularly the two parties, DUP and Sinn Féin, the DUP is the technocratically most accomplished of all political parties in Northern Ireland. They're the only ones, really, who have tried to make a go of health when they've had it, and tried to make a go of education when they've had it. And I think that shows in the nature of the deal that's come out. It shows in the fact that they're the ones who were complaining that the number 10 was in chaos and all over the place and not ready to do a deal in a timely fashion. So for Crackpots, they're pretty well up together. They got 36% of the electorate vote, which in this particular election, that's a major, in a divided society, that is a very major chunk of the population. Are people really saying, is the Daily Mirror really saying that 36% of the Northern Ireland electorate are crackpots? I think they ought to get out a little bit more.
Let me ask you finally then on this one. We've had this happen in the past in this country, admittedly a long time ago, when there was a minority government after Ted Heath's failed decision to get a general election mandate back in 74, 2 elections in 1 year, and that was a Harold Wilson's slight majority government. That became a minority government, and Jim Callaghan was quoted after he left office when Margaret Thatcher won the election, saying, I just got so fed up with having to do kind of behind-the-scenes deals with my own backbenchers. And that is still a prospect for Theresa May, isn't it? I mean, there are plenty of people in the Tory party who might either be rubbing their hands in anticipation of a DUP-type windfall, or also might think, you know what, I'm a committed Remain campaigner, I'm going to drag my feet on this, I'm going to abstain. I'll be sick on the day of a big vote. So this isn't a done deal, a guarantee for the Prime Minister's staying power, is it?
No, and I think you're absolutely right to point the finger at Tory backbenchers. That's where the real trouble's going to come. The advantage of the DUP is that they're tight. There's only 10 of them. They're small. They're very disciplined. They've signed up for 2 years. That's really the duration of the Article 50 negotiations, and they're locked in tight. I think, yes, the Whips are going to have a hard deal. However, one of the things that the Tories are very good at is acquiring and retaining power, and that, I think, will concentrate minds, particularly during this period, because, you know, we saw how unreliable the polls were at the beginning of the campaign as a predictor for the outcome. Is even the most committed Remainer conservative is still a conservative at heart? Do they really want to give the game away so profoundly and comprehensively to the Labour Party? I don't think so. I mean, the Labour Party's got a number of strategic advantages here. Those SNP seats in Scotland there's even more of them vulnerable now than there were before. So the catch-up game that Labour has to play is not as tough as the game that they had to play to get to where they are now. So I honestly think that will create a degree of discipline within the Conservative Party. Yes, there's possibilities of cutting up rough on that, but losing control of the game, I think, is going to be something the 1922 committee particularly is going to be pretty sharp on.
Well, certainly she went straight to them when she got that bizarre election verdict, not bizarre from her point of view, and said, I'll serve for as long as you want me to, firmly reminding them they've got the power. Thank you very much indeed. Mick Fealty there from the website, a very long-running political website called Slugger O'Toole.